So let's talk about seller financing for a second. What is the problem right now? Why? Look, we're at a unique part of history, and at least as far as in my lifetime, this is the first time where getting a mortgage and buying a house conventionally costs more on a monthly basis than renting. It's not just the interest rate. It is partly the interest rate. What's the other part of that equation that's creating this lethal concoction? High values, high interest rates. Guys, this is what happened. So COVID was announced, right? And everybody handled it without stress and without panic, right? In a very organized fashion. The Fed dropped interest rates to zero. For those of you who don't know, the Federal Reserve and the central bank are the ones that lend money to the commercial banks like Chase and Wells Fargo. And the Fed rate is what they charge those banks. The banks that you bank at, that's what they charge those banks for the money. So usually, like if the Fed's rate is like 3%, Chase will give you a loan, but it's going to be 5%. And they're just making the difference, right? They got to pay 3% for the money. They're charging you 5%, they make 2%. It's very simple, right? The Fed dropped the interest rates to zero when COVID hit, thinking we've got to protect the economy. Well, are people dumb? Like, I think the government thinks we're dumb, right? Like, we'll drop it to zero. Oh, we'll just behave normally. It's fine, right? Which means that mortgages were like 2.5%, the lowest they've been in a long, long time. So what did everybody do? Especially the people in this room. We went and bought some freaking real estate, right? We were out like, I'll take that one and that one and that one and just, put it on my credit, right? Put it on my tab, right? We all went out and bought real estate because the rates were so cheap, which the Fed kind of created their own problem. Because what happens when you have a run on real estate, demand goes way, way up, supply goes way, way down. When demand goes up and supply goes down, prices go up. And they just went up and up and up. And the Fed was like, I think we made a mistake. I don't know if this was a good idea. Because the prices are going up and up. People can't afford housing soon. So we got to figure out how to fix our mistake. So what should we do? Unprecedented rate hikes. At no time in history have we ever had rates skyrocket at the rate that they have in the last 9 months. Unprecedented rate hikes. Yeah, that fixed it. Good job, right? Totally fixed. Good plan. No, we created this created this problem of it was getting unaffordable before. Now it's out of the question. And the buyers have disappeared because nobody can afford the high values mixed with the high rates. Nobody can afford that payment anymore. And listen, guys, the rent model, it's a simple process. It's a cost plus. If I have a mortgage on a house, I have to be able to make that mortgage payment plus make a little bit of money to be incentivized to provide housing for people, right? An investor's got to make money. Well, for the first time in history, rents are lower than what mortgage payments are. We can't do it the traditional way unless you find a sweet deal. But you can't run a business that's going to feed your family if you're only doing it the traditional way. We need more tools in our tool belt. One of those tools is seller financing. And, same disclaimer, you'll notice that it's actually the same pictures as the fix and flip one. It's because I copied and pasted my slides and forgot to change out the pictures. So pretend like this is a different house. This house was actually in West Jordan. The one I'm talking about is in Roy. But we used a very similar strategy to do this. We actually negotiated this house with an individual who was willing to turn over. He had a VA loan that he just got like 6 months before we approached him. Sold us the house for the balance of the loan. We walked into well over $100,000 in equity in this house. And this was before this was like 2018, right? So we got all that appreciation as well. And he passed away 3 days after we closed.
Oh.
So we have a 30-year mortgage that no one's ever going to bug us about. Right? That's pretty dope. Can I get an amen? Yeah. So pretty good deal here, right? Purchase price $280, $56,000 down, $1,500 a month, $2,400 in cash flow. It's actually way more than this now because of the creativity of my wife, Maylee. You want to just share briefly what you did with this property?
It's just considered a government housing property, so per room we can rent it out for $3,200 a month.
Yeah, she turned into a home for adults with special needs.
So there's 4 rooms. You do the math.
Yeah. We now bring in about twice that. Bring about $5,500 a month. Yeah, it's awesome. So our cash flow is just ridiculous on this property, right? But that's because of the exit strategy. So $0 of personal investment. We took the debt equity blend and we just made it a long-term thing, right? In an economy like this, if I were to approach anybody that had, 2 brain cells to rub together, was like, we're going to do a fix and flip in this market. You're going to be like, you're not doing that with my money, right? But if we're going to go out and do an investment like this where we can make a ridiculous ROI and all I need is $56,000, I think that's hard to find. Even if I have to split that between maybe 2 people, is that hard to find? No, it's not hard to find at all. In fact, that's exactly how we did this. We're in this deal with $0 out of pocket and have a minority partner, meaning they own a minority share in the house because they brought $56,000 to the table. What value did I bring to the table? Knowledge. Which from a dollar perspective means I brought the rest of the value of the home to the table, right, on a $280,000 purchase. Okay. So, again, 3 types of investors. The move-out investor. Remember with the flips, it was the move-in guy, right? Now it's the move-out guy. Guys, is it smart to buy a house, live in it for a while, and when you're ready to upgrade, go buy another house, but keep the previous house? Is that smart? Yes. Are you going to become a millionaire off that strategy? No. Should you do it? Yeah. Should it be your only strategy? No. You see the distinction there? Great idea. Shouldn't be your only idea. Why should it not be your only idea? How many times can I do that, Carrie, before you start telling me no on future mortgages? I could do it once, right? My income's really, really good and my credit's really, really good. Maybe twice, maybe 3 times. Legally, I can do it 10. So let's say I've got $900 a month in cash flow on this property. Let's say I do it, the max I'm legally allowed to do it, 10 mortgages on my personal credit. That's $9,000 a month. Do you guys consider $9,000 a month retiring wealthy? No? I mean, you could live on that. But is that the dream? If you have a dream board and you're like, this is what retirement's going to look like, do you have $9,000 a month written on that dream board? Like, dream big, right? Dream big. No, you got to add some zeros to that, right? Keep adding zeros. I'll tell you when to stop. So the type 2 investor, this is the debt guy. Do we run into the same problem? Do we run into the same problem of the 10 mortgages?
Yeah.
Yeah, we run into the same problem. We can only go out and get so many properties traditionally. Save up for years, have a down payment, have my $56,000 ready, right? Go get a mortgage, purchase the rental, and then rinse and repeat. That can only happen a few times before I'm totally out. And realistically, you won't get to the 10. You might get halfway there before the banks just stop lending, right? Okay. So why type 1 and type 2 investors never become wealthy? Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac only allow 10 mortgages in your name or in companies that you own. That maxes you out at 10 rental properties. If your cash flow is $400, used to be generous, not so generous anymore. That maxes you out at $4,000 a month in cash flow. It's a very slow process. It's not scalable, and it's nice ancillary income. Definitely something you should do, but it's not going to make you wealthy. Creates scarcity, right? Okay. What do I mean by it creates scarcity? What types of decisions do we start to make if we have scarcity mindsets? If If you know you can only have 10 and it goes beyond there, are you starting to make employee mindset style decisions? Where maybe your spouse comes to you and is like, hey, we should hire a property manager so we're not there all the time. I only got 10 of these. I need to squeeze every penny that I can out, so I'm going to go mow the lawn. I'm going to go plunge the toilet. I'm going to go evict the poor lady. I'm going to go kick her kids out onto the street without food. I'm going to, that sucks. We start, and now all of a sudden with 10 properties, that's our full-time job. We're now a property manager, right? We limit ourselves. We get a scarcity mindset. We need tools. Listen, seller financing. Here's basically how it works. We walk in, we negotiate with the seller. Usually we're finding people. Jared talked about this, so I'm not going to go into great detail because of time. But if we find people in distress, people who are about to lose their home to foreclosure, and I come in and say, hey, look, you're still going to lose your house. There's nothing I can do about that. You have to move out. I'm sure you've already picked the apartment you're going to move to. But I want to give you some options. So far, you haven't had any options. Right now, your option is turn your house over to the bank, get a 10-year foreclosure ding on your credit. You can't get a mortgage for 10 years. You're renting for a decade. Or you can move out, turn the house over to me. I will pay what you owe to the bank, what you're behind to the bank immediately. That will now take the bad mark on your credit and bring it current. Is that going to help your credit? Yes. So either your credit tanks or I help your credit based on who you turn it over to, right? And then I'm going to make those payments every single month on time. Mortgage is staying in your name. The house will be in my name. But I'm going to make those payments every single month on time. What's that going to do for your credit? You'll be able to buy a house again in 2 years. Which do you think they pick most of the time? If they let me get that far into the conversation, right? That's a big if. Once I get that far into this conversation, though, is that a no-brainer? Yeah. And that's how we pick up these seller finance deals all the time. How many mortgages am I allowed to have in other people's names? Infinity. There is no limit to how I can scale. Do I start making abundance mindset decisions at that point? I'm not a landlord. I will let the landlords be landlords. I will let the property managers be landlords. I am an investor. And the more I can eliminate the things that I'm doing in my life that aren't investor activities, like being a contractor, being a landlord, being a landscaper, being a designer, being a stager, the more I can eliminate those things and focus on being an investor, the more money I will make. Real estate is the ideal investment, especially rental real estate, right? The acronym IDEAL, IDEAL. Income, which is your cash flow, your profit, right? Your monthly income. Deductions, there are more deductions on rental properties than there are on any other. Rental properties are a better tax shelter than any other thing I've found. They just are, right? All the strategies. You'll have to come see Mark Kohler in Idaho Falls if you want to learn more about that. I don't have time to explain them here. Equity, appreciate. As we pay down our mortgage, we build equity in the property, right? We're widening that gap between what we paid for the property and what we owe on the mortgage every single month. Appreciation, over time, we got data for the last 200 years on the real estate market. And guess what that data says? Real estate grows on average at 4% a year. That includes years like 1929, years like 2008, when it was terrible. It includes years like 2020, when it skyrocketed, 20% growth in a year, right? If you average all those years out, it grows by 4%. It's a solid investment, right? And then leverage. We can leverage these properties and go out and buy more properties. Pretty awesome. Look, I know breaking into some of these strategies is a really difficult thing. And really, it's simple stuff, but it's complicated to learn. And so we don't want you to have to do that by yourself. Maylee and I and our coaching staff have actually opened some time for a free coaching call. All you have to do is go to flippin.education to sign up for your free coaching call today. We'll see you there.